Have you ever felt that strange sense of déjà vu? Like you've been here before? Like the world around you is just repeating itself? Maybe you've questioned why reality feels so precise, so mathematical, almost as if it was programmed. What if I told you that some of the greatest philosophers and even modern scientists have seriously considered the possibility that our world isn't real at all? That perhaps we are living inside a simulation? But before you dismiss this as science fiction, let me ask you, how can you ever truly know that what you're experiencing right now is real? Pause for a moment. Look at the screen in front of you. Feel the chair you're sitting on. Listen to the sounds around you. What if all of this was generated, streams of data feeding your mind, convincing you that you're living in a solid, physical world? It sounds absurd, until you realize that this is not a modern question at all. Philosophers have been doubting reality for centuries. Scientists are now taking the idea seriously, and pop culture has turned it into myth. So tonight, let's walk the path of doubt together. From Descartes' radical skepticism, to Nick Bostrom's probability trap, to the cultural parable of the Matrix. And along the way, let's ask, if it turns out that reality is a simulation, does that change anything about how we live? And by the end of this journey, I promise you'll never look at reality the same way again. As we dive in, carry 3 questions with you. Don't try to answer them now. Let them hang in the background of your mind like whispers. First, if your senses can be perfectly fooled, how would you ever know? Second, if advanced civilizations can run countless simulations, what are the odds that this is the original? Third, and most importantly, if you discovered it's all simulated, what would you change tomorrow morning? Remember these. By the end, the third question may matter more than the first 2. Long before computers, before electricity, before the very idea of machines that could mimic reality, a man sat alone by a fire in the cold winter of 1619, asking himself the most dangerous question of all. What if everything I believe is false? This man was René Descartes, and his method was radical. He decided to doubt everything that could possibly be doubted. His senses? They had deceived him before. Straight sticks looked bent in water. Distant towers seemed round when they were square. His dreams, indistinguishable from waking life while inside them. His reasoning? Even mathematicians sometimes made mistakes. So Descartes stripped it all away. He imagined a scenario in which a powerful deceiver, an evil demon, was feeding him illusions, manipulating every sense, every perception. In such a scenario, nothing he experienced could be trusted. If this sounds eerily familiar, it should. Descartes' evil demon is a 17th century version of the simulation hypothesis. Replace the demon with a computer, replace illusions with data streams, and you have a perfect metaphor for modern skepticism. But Descartes found one thing that could not be doubted. Even if every perception was false, there was still the undeniable fact that he was thinking. Cogito, ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. Notice how subtle this is. Descartes didn't prove the world exists. He proved he exists as a thinking subject. Consciousness was the bedrock. The interface may be fake, the world may be generated, but the fact that awareness is happening cannot be denied. In other words, if this is a simulation, then yes, the world may be an illusion. But the one thing you can never call fake is your own awareness of it. Now let's jump ahead to the 21st century. Computers have reshaped our lives, virtual worlds are everywhere, and philosophers have a new language to talk about Descartes' demon. In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed what is now known as the simulation argument, and it is not science fiction, it is cold logic. Bostrom framed it as a trilemma, a three-way fork in the road. He argued that at least one of these statements must be true. 1. Almost all civilizations like ours go extinct before they reach the point of being able to run ancestor simulations, detailed worlds containing conscious beings. 2. If civilizations do reach that point, they choose not to run simulations, for moral, legal, or resource reasons. 3. If neither of the above is true, then we are almost certainly living in a simulation. Why? Because if advanced civilizations survive, and if they do run simulations, then the number of simulated minds would vastly outnumber the number of original minds. Statistically, that would make it far more likely that you are one of the simulated minds, rather than an original. Think of it like this. Imagine there is one base reality, but that reality creates a million simulations. Each of those simulations contains billions of conscious beings who believe they are in base reality. If you randomly found yourself as one of those beings, the odds that you are in the single original world are astronomically small. This is Bostrom's trap. He doesn't claim we are in a simulation. He claims that if certain conditions are true, if simulations are possible, and if civilizations choose to make them, then the math strongly suggests that we are. Of course, objections arise. Some argue that the computing power required to simulate a universe is unimaginable. But consider this. Not every detail needs to be simulated at once. In video games, only the part of the world you see is rendered. Perhaps reality uses a similar trick, rendering details only when observed. Quantum mechanics even seems to echo this idea. Particles appear to exist in multiple states until measured, at which point they collapse into one outcome. Coincidence? Or a clue? Others argue that consciousness cannot be simulated. But what if it can? What if what you call mind is simply information processing at a very high level? If so, then creating a simulated consciousness may be just a matter of scale. The power of Bostrom's argument is that it doesn't need proof. It only needs possibility. If simulations are possible, and if they are created in vast numbers, then the odds are against us. Of course, philosophy alone might not have captured the public imagination. But then came the Matrix. When Neo is offered the red pill or the blue pill, the choice is not simply about escaping a computer program. It is about escaping a lie. It is about choosing between comfortable illusion and painful truth. The film resonated so powerfully because it echoed questions humans have been asking for centuries. Plato's allegory of the cave describes prisoners chained in darkness, mistaking shadows for reality. Descartes imagined his deceiving demon. Bostrom gave us the probability trap. The Matrix simply dressed these old anxieties in leather coats and green code. But the most haunting part of the Matrix isn't the sci-fi, it's the familiarity. Our lives are already filled with patterns, loops, routines, work, screens, consumption, algorithms quietly shaping our desires, feeding us entertainment, curating our choices. You don't need cables plugged into your neck to live inside a system that controls you. So ask yourself, doesn't your life already feel a little programmed? This is where curiosity spikes. If we are simulated, can we ever know? Some physicists speculate that reality may contain hints of being computational. The Planck length suggests a minimum unit of space, like pixels. The speed of light could be a built-in speed limit, like a cap on processing. Error-correcting codes have been found in the equations of physics, resembling the codes used to keep digital information stable. Others point to the strange behavior of quantum mechanics. Electrons exist in multiple states until measured. Could this be the universe rendering an outcome only when observed? And then there are the so-called glitches, déjà vu, the Mandela effect, the eerie feeling that time skips or repeats. These may be nothing more than quirks of memory and perception, but they leave us with an unsettling thought. If reality were simulated, what would glitches even look like? Would they be spectacular or subtle enough that we dismiss them as human error? Here's the paradox. The better the simulation, the harder it is to detect. A perfect simulation leaves no trace of itself. Unless, of course, the creators want you to notice. So let's assume for a moment that we are in a simulation. Then what? Does meaning vanish? Does morality collapse? Not necessarily. If you love someone inside a simulation, does that love feel any less real? If you suffer, does that pain become meaningless simply because it is simulated? Conscious experience is real to the one experiencing it. In fact, meaning may matter more. If this is a simulation, maybe the test isn't to discover it. Maybe the test is how we choose to live inside it, to reduce suffering, to seek truth, to create beauty, even if the canvas is digital. If reality is an illusion, then the illusion still feels real. And perhaps that is enough. So here's the real question. If we are living in a simulation, does it even matter? Would you choose to know the truth, even if it shattered everything you believe? Or would you prefer the comfort of the illusion? Think carefully. Because the choice you'd make, whether to take the red pill or the blue pill, reveals more about your relationship with reality than you might imagine. And perhaps, just perhaps, the fact that you're even questioning this right now is proof that you were never meant to know the answer. So, are we living in a simulation? Or are we simply asking the wrong question?